Hey, it's Brett from Neo News Today, joined by Alex DiCarlo from NeoTracker and Neo1 fame. You've just got finished on a panel, actually, so.
Yeah, we were just talking about wallets, and we kind of revealed a little bit that we're planning on doing a pretty big redesign for the NeoTracker wallet, and yeah, it should be pretty cool. We'll probably release it in the next couple of months, 2 or 3 months, and hope people like it.
Yeah, so I think NeoTracker was actually pretty cool because not only was it like the first block explorer that people could actually use and understand what they were looking at, but it also had the wallet function, which I think a lot of people made use of. I know my first Neo wallet was a NeoTracker wallet, so pretty exciting to hear about the redesign, I guess.
Yeah. So it turns out, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because I think for a lot of people, NeoTracker wallet is their first real experience with Neo. Even today, really, it's actually quite amazing sometimes, because whenever we have problems, it's like the whole world is collapsing. Like everybody's freaking out. Like all the people come out of the woodwork. They were like, oh, I didn't realize there's quite that many people relying on us. And so we've been, in the past year or so, we've been focused a lot more on dependability. But now that we kind of got some of the reliability issues under control, like we certainly have some synchronization issues that we're still working through, but we have most of the reliability issues under control. We're focused on kind of this new redesign, this new experience. We want to make it as easy and seamless as possible to get started. Really, like the mantra, as I said on the panel, was to make it so that like your mom and dad could go to this website and they could understand cryptocurrency and get started with Neo, and that's really our goal.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's something that a lot of people have been worried about with, I mean, everyone's kind of relied on the NeoTracker Block Explorer for so long, and you mentioned the synchronization issues. Do you have kind of a timeline for when people will expect that to be kind of back to normal?
Yeah, so we're actually working with Neo Research right now to get that resolved. So they have this nice a dump of the storage changes that we're using to kind of debug where the issue is, like why ours is out of sync from the core implementation. And so we're hoping that, the thing is it takes a lot of time, right? Like we solve one issue and then we have to resynchronize over days in order to find the next issue. And then that, we kind of keep this cycle going. And we think probably within the next week or two we should be good. Now that we've got this new method of doing it that we've worked with Neo Research on. But yeah, we'd say probably about the next week or two we'll probably be fully resynchronized.
Yeah, for me personally, that's actually really good news, because as much as I like NeoScan, I've just always felt that NeoTracker presented the information that I wanted to see better. So it's been kind of frustrating not being able to use it for specific tokens, for example, that don't show up. So when the Neo 3.0 migration, all that happens and UTXOs go away, is that something that's going to kind of make life much easier for block explorers?
I think it'll make life a lot easier for everyone, really. Not just block explorers, not just wallets. I mean, now you have to deal with both assets and tokens, and the differences between how UTXO works versus how smart contracts work. And in particular, I think it'll be really great for Neo1. It turns out that the Neo1 API already abstracts away a lot of that, sort of the difference between UTXO and smart contracts, but it will vastly simplify like the internals of Neo1. Like we can just basically rip out like whole pieces of Neo1 as a result, and I think it'll actually make it a lot more streamlined for everyone when we get rid of UTXO and just have the account-based system.
Good news for developers then.
Good news for developers, yeah.
So you led us nicely into Neo1 there. So you guys have the courses up. What was the feedback like with all that?
So the courses, I think they went across really well. I mean, it makes it really easy for anyone to just jump in. I mean, I even had a lot of feedback that people that weren't developers were able to go online, try these courses out, and just follow along and understand what was happening, even though they've never really written code before, which I think is really, that was probably the most surprising thing for me.
I mean, it was the same for me.
Yeah. I mean, that was the most I thought that people would really like it, that developers would like it, but I never in my wildest dreams thought that like anyone who tried out the courses has really enjoyed going through it.
Yeah, I mean, with the readability of JavaScript, TypeScript, combined with a nice infrastructure, I mean, familiar, kind of like the Codecademy stuff. I mean, it just works so well. So
good to hear, as always.
So what's next for Neo1 then? What are you guys looking at?
So this quarter, we are focused entirely on making Neo1 mainnet ready. So right now, as a lot of people know, like the biggest barrier to entry for Neo1 is that we're not quite ready for you to use it to deploy to the mainnet. I just finished talking with Peter over this past weekend to kind of get a plan together for how we're going to make sure Neo1 is ready in the next month or so, next month, maybe 2 months. And so I think that within the next month or two, we'll have deployed our own example contracts to the mainnet, and that will be like kind of the litmus test, right? That's like the first step to saying like, yes, come use Neo1 for your production app, like now, we're ready to go. So that's kind of the focus for this quarter. Next quarter, our focus is going to be more on courses again. So we're going to try and do probably an NFT course and maybe some kind of course around gaming of some kind. We haven't quite figured out what the details are, but we'll add more courses. And we're also going to take that editor experience and make it standalone, so that you can build your entire decentralized app if you wanted to in the browser without installing anything. No setup required. Just do it all right in the browser.
Well, that sounds pretty good for me. Maybe I can even give it a shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So you talked about the new courses, NFTs, gaming's cool stuff. What kind of example contracts will you have?
So I think we'll focus, so kind of like how I think it'll be a very similar setup to the current one. So the current course is, you kind of start from scratch, and you start building up a token, and then you start building up other contracts that work with that token. So like in the very end course, you start building an escrow contract that sort of lets you deposit that token that you've made in previous lessons into this smart contract escrow account sort of thing. And I think we'll probably follow a very similar playbook, so to speak, for the next one. I'm not sure, we haven't quite figured out yet what we're going to do, but of course there'll be an NFT token, and then probably some, maybe we'll kind of fold that into the gaming itself and have some gaming contracts that use that NFT token, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So you mentioned when Neo1 was first released that it's kind of designed to interface well with existing JavaScript libraries for the front end.
Yep.
Will that also be incorporated into the browser experience for new developers?
Yep. So right now the course is actually the third lesson of the course actually lets you build a React app in the browser, and so we're gonna extend that functionality into the editor as well. Speaking of, this is actually one of the things we worked on this quarter as well that I forgot to mention, is that we added first-class support for Angular and Vue. So now all three major sort of front-end libraries for JavaScript, React, Angular, and Vue, are fully supported by Neo1. Yeah.
So you're really going to be the place for onboarding web devs then?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so for even for mobile devs as well. You can use React Native. We're working with the NOS folks right now actually to make sure that that Neo1 works correctly on mobile. So people that develop mobile apps, whether it's Android or iOS using React Native, can start using Neo1 as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before we finish up, anything else on the horizon you want to tell the community about?
I think we kind of covered everything. I think before we wrap up, the only thing I really want to mention again is if you haven't tried it already, go do the courses, neo1.io/courses, and let us know what you think.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And if you want to catch up with more of our DevCon content, you can head over to the Twitter page, the YouTube, or newnewsday.com. Thanks again, Alex.
Yep, thanks.